Even men at the top of their game find themselves wanting more from life. Whether it's more meaning, unshakable confidence, a bigger impact, more money, deeper love, a hotter sex life, or a powerful legacy. Find out how good your life can be on this episode of Man Alive. Also, as I've supported men in their love and work lives for 15 years now, many men have asked me for the right words to say to be more attractive, desirable, and more of a leader. And I've found it's not so simple as giving scripts or lines. Because at the root of a connected and affectionate relationship and being more effective and inspiring at work is your ability to influence others. But most often, influence is not gained or lost with words. It's from what I call the invisible factors. So I created a quick guide for you called 3 Ways Men Lose Influence at Work and with Women, so you can understand how these invisible factors work and what has women and colleagues both more inspired to say yes. I think you're also going to be surprised to find out the moment when your influence actually begins. So grab the guide for free at ShaynaJamesCoaching.com/3ways. That's ShaynaJamesCoaching.com/3 and the word ways, WAYS. Or you can text ALIVE to 44144. That's the word ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144. I hope you enjoy the guide and this episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. I'm your host, Shayna James. Happy to be here today with Rob Kandell. Rob, welcome.
Hello. So glad to be back.
Yes, welcome back. Welcome back. So we are going to talk today about a new type of seduction. And part of what I love is that I had no idea this is where our conversation was going to go. Mm-hmm. And, seduction is something I talk a lot about with men. We don't necessarily use that word, but I think it's because it's kind of this word that in recent days, men maybe are afraid to
petrified.
Right?
Petrified. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Me Too is just scared the shit out of men.
Yeah.
Especially around seduction.
So what I love is that, you just gave me a little glimpse and we're going to talk about is a new way to seduce or a new type of seduction that doesn't have to do with, being so bold and not necessarily paying attention to who's in front of you, but just going for it anyway. Like this type of seduction actually feels to me like, there's a maturity. And I think a lot of the men who listen to this are also getting older. And so to really recognize that you can be a seducer or be in the seduction in a way that is more mature and connected to the women. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. So let me do a quick bio unless you want to say something.
No.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know Robert Kandell, I think I call you Rob. I apologize because that was
it's both.
Yeah.
It's not a Bob.
The olden days, not a Bob.
Yeah, not a Bob.
Right. So you are known as the modern mentor.
Mm-hmm.
You're an interpersonal communications and relationship expert, speaker, podcaster, and author. And your focus lies in navigating and educating the public around the modern man and his many nuances in the modern era. So Rob is the host of a podcast called Tough Love, your pragmatic guide to relationship, sex, and purpose in the 21st century, and is the author of an Amazon #1 bestseller called Unhidden, a book for men and those confused by them, which there are a lot of those people these days. Confusion is vast.
Yes.
So let's get into seduction. Let's see what you define as the old seduction versus the new seduction.
I've been in this conversation about seduction probably for years, thinking about it and working on it.
I would say you've been in this conversation for decades, knowing you.
Well, yes, I've been in the man-woman relationship, teaching, being a student, getting my butt kicked by great teachers, getting my butt kicked by my own, shooting myself in the foot for years. Yes, I've been doing the personal work for 20 years.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, I've been thinking a lot about seduction and what it is. Because to be honest, I was a horrible seducer in the old model.
Really?
I was not the guy that could go stare at a woman from the bar, buy her a drink, and then have the chutzpah to stand up and walk across and say, "Hi, my name is Robert. What's your?" No, I was never that guy. When I was a bartender, working behind the bar, I was a flirt. To the nth degree. This is when I was in grad school. I was a flirt to the nth degree, but put me on the other side of the bar as a Joe, like a normal guy.
Yeah.
I was fuddled and inept.
Which I think a lot of men relate to. You know, I
Right.
mean, there are men out there who are like, oh, yeah, I got this. But most men I talk to who are even really successful and powerful men, there's still something. I love one of the things that I think is so funny is that, you know, so many men I work with are like, they'll jump out of helicopters, they'll go whitewater kayaking. And then the idea of having a conversation with a woman is like a certain kind of terrifying, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then we're taught, you know, educated mostly by the movies, by media, by our friends, really bad habits. And then there was the rise of the seduction scene, the pickup artist, which, you know, rose to prominence after Neil Strauss's The Game.
Yep.
Which, you know, Neil Strauss didn't create the pickup artist. He just reported about it and then brought it to more awareness. And I was a teacher at One Taste and teaching men's courses. We got guys who went through pickup and realized it didn't work.
Yes. I had the same thing, right? When we were teaching the Authentic Man program, the men would come in and it was like, oh God, it didn't work for them.
It didn't work for them. So all these really bad technology and the basic, to be really, you know, surface level, the pickup artistry is one of pouncing. Even with the techniques of negging and like trying to act cool, there's still like this pounce. It's like Calvin and Hobbes. Remember the cartoon?
Yes.
It's like Hobbes would pounce on Calvin every time you walk through the door. And that's really the experience women tend to have, is that they're constantly being pounced on by men, sometimes really overtly, from the leering eyes walking down the street, the cat call from a stranger, but a lot of times they're very micro. I call them micro tears of intimacy, these little invasions of privacy, these little invasions of energy that women have to deal with every single second of their entire lives.
God, there's so many things that just went through my head, right? It's like, okay, right. And how men can understand those, but without making themselves wrong, or right. There's some fine lines in there.
Right. I don't have time for anyone to feel wrong or for me to make anyone wrong or for this battle of the genders of who's right or wrong is really not the right conversation.
No, I agree.
These are innate, embedded programs from 6,000 years of the patriarchy, hundreds of generations, bad information being passed on and amplified from grandfather to father to son. Yeah. It's no one's fault, and there's no awareness. And then you have something like Me Too, which to me was one of the most exciting things and one of the most important things in terms of gender dynamics. You know, one of the biggest social evolutions of our culture, when women finally said no mas, and they said it to one of the biggest movie producers in the world, right? Yeah. She said it publicly, and all of a sudden women started to be like, no mas, no mas, no mas, no mas. And there's some shadow to the Me Too, but all in all, I think the Me Too is one of the most important wake-up calls ever to hit our society.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So there's so many things we could go into, but if we're keeping it as right, so the old way of seduction was more pouncing and women having this sense of feeling invaded upon, and men sometimes overstepping their bounds just to get out there, maybe sometimes out of fear, or maybe sometimes out of, this is how I'm supposed to do it, or this is what the pickup guys told me. Right. Exactly. Yeah. This is every movie you ever saw. I mean, like I saw this BuzzFeed, BuzzFeed, they do, no, sorry, it was Watch Mojo. Watch Mojo is a YouTube channel, and they put on great little top 10 lists of these things. Yeah. The top 10 was the top 10 things rom-coms get wrong. The top 10 memes in rom-coms. One of the memes was that if you have an antagonistic relationship in the movie, right? Yeah. If you have an antagonistic relationship in the movie, you'll probably end up together. Oh, geez. Right. Right. And another one is if if she says no, that no is really just the call for action. Oh, God. It's the sounding of the bugles and release the hounds. And it's time for the man to step up and to pursue the woman she's not really meaning no. She really means maybe, which is really a yes. And so these are two things that are very popular in our culture, in our society, that men are trained to believe. Yeah. I mean, the no one, right? That it's such a dangerous place. And there are times, I believe, when women say no, and there's a deeper something going on, right? There's a deeper conversation, but in the rom-coms or in the movies, it's like, there is a sense of like you said, that's the invitation, or that's in pickup, right? It was like a no isn't actually real. And
Right.
it's really dangerous to not respect that no. And what I think, a lot of times I work with men, I call it ABC communication. And a lot of men miss the C. So A is like a woman says something, or the man says something. B is the woman responds in usually a negative way. And then the men kind of just are like, okay, I guess the conversation's over. Instead of C, which would be like, okay, let me get curious here. If she said no, and I really want to understand, like, well, what happened for you? What's going on there? Right. So I think there is a way we could have more communication and more understanding between men and women in those ways, and not just, call out the bugles, like you said. So I guess I'm saying all this to say that it is a tricky dynamic. And I want to get back to your new seduction, because it sounds like there's less of that inserting yourself and more of being in your strength, your presence, your clarity. So help us understand what you see as a new kind of seduction.
So the old seduction is the lean in, the pounce. If you can't see me because it's a podcast, but my hands are like claws. It's just like, get ya. The new seduction is very different. It's imagine me standing up straight. My legs are hip width apart. My shoulders are back. I'm standing solidly up. My heart is open. My soul is open. My genitals are open. I am available. And it's one more of standing up straight. Instead of it being a pounce, it becomes energetic erectness and a standing up straight with availability. And what I recommend is you need to do the internal work, which I can talk about, but do the internal work to become a beacon of attractiveness.
Right. Now, this is so interesting, because I think a lot of times this is how it's been talked about with women, that women are a beacon and, men come to the light. And so it's interesting to hear you talk about, being a beacon. And I love the idea of this energetic erectness.
Yes.
Because, right, it's like, I talk about the invisible influences. So it's like all these things that are happening inside of you that actually have you, have women feel drawn or awakened or excited or attracted, not based on what you're doing or saying, but just your presence alone. So is that what you mean by the energetic erectness?
Yes. Yes. Now, I want to be super clear. It doesn't mean just stand there waiting. Like, it's not like, I'm a beacon, I'm an energetic I'm a big beacon in a lighthouse. No, I'm not. So I'm saying there is still engagement. There's still sending of text messages. You can swipe right on the Tinder. You can, flirt. I'm not like talking about being a man in an island hoping a woman trips over you. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, I'm just saying the different energetic state instead of being, almost desperate, believing in scarcity, doing anything, thinking if she gives you an indicator of interest, another pickup 101 term, IOI term, if she flirts with you, if she sends you an emoji, right, you're winning. That's what's got to go. A modern man depends on external validation from women to think he's winning.
Okay.
This is the big thing that has to change.
Yeah. So it's not about, I like that you brought up the piece about the external validation. So in the, I keep getting this wrong, energetic erectness.
Yes, it's a new term.
There is a way.
Trademark Robert Kandell.
Yes, I like it. Rob Kandell. It's valid. It sounds like there's an internal validation. There's a self, right, a belief in self.
Right.
And it's not like, oh, I need you out there to somehow make me feel good. I'm already feeling good about myself over here.
Yes. The most important piece of this is first to do the internal work, to fall deeply, deeply love with yourself. To know you're a good man, regardless of your circumstance. Because that's one thing men do not know, believe, and takes a long time to shift. This addiction, like cocaine, we are addicted. We'll do anything for that text message. We'll do anything for that kiss. We'll do anything for that intercourse, because that's the only way we perceive value in ourselves is if we get it. We get
Yeah.
some, right? To use the vulgar language of, get some, get over her,
Yeah.
hook up, root, like all these things, right, are like action items for men to penetrate and have and take and rape and pillage. And I do mean rape. And I don't mean rape just in the, the most dramatic portions. I'm talking about rape in the micro tears of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because we think the only way we are of value is externally, it puts us in a desperate, pirate-like rape and pillage place.
Yeah.
The new seduction is all about believing in self-validation, self-love, integrity, belief in oneself. And that's the first step of the process.
Makes you really happy. And right, I think so much of the work I do with men is around recognizing and so this is tricky. It's not me validating their goodness.
Nope.
It's me helping them get to that place of validating their own goodness.
Right.
Through, though, also reflecting like your desires are good,
Yes.
what you want and need and what you value.
Yes.
Right. Is good, because a lot of men come to me thinking, well, I'm too much, or I wanted this. And, my mom said, or my past relationships, like there's a collapsing into, I am not good as I am. I want too much. I need too much. And, there is a cultural, I've been writing about this in a TED Talk too. It's like the way women talk about men is a lot of times like all men want is, or all men are pigs, or all men aren't, emotionally available. There's a lot of that blaming, shaming, and attacking. And so it takes a lot of strength to find that energetic erectness and belief in self in this culture.
Right. Exactly. And so when I coach, I just was talking with my clients this morning.
Yeah.
And he lists his desires, and is that okay?
Yes.
And I'm like,
right.
Absolutely, 100%. Like, go crazy. Give me the crazy fetishes you have.
Yeah.
Like toes, pantyhose, cross-dressing, whips, chips, nipple rings, like whatever it is. Your desires are right.
Are right.
Are 100% right. In fact, when you don't confront them, that's where the real trouble begins.
Right. That's where the shadow starts to come out the side.
Right. That's when your desire runs amok. So confront your desire, feel them, and don't vomit them on your partners, which most men do.
Yes.
This is what's got to change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about that too. Because, right. I say it like, I think we have a similar sense of, right. Don't just dump
Nope.
your partner and be like, whoa, here's what I like and what I want. And you may not have ever heard of this, and you may think it's weird or creepy, like all of that. How do you actually support men to communicate and collaborate and, co-create in that way?
I have a framework, it's in my book, that it's used everywhere. It's a basic framework, and I'll just say the steps and we can go over them. So the first is to confront, to look at, to see. Mm-hmm. The second is to investigate, is to understand it. We live in the most information-rich time in the universe. Go Google it, do some research. Make a commitment to understand it and be right with it. Then build a practice around engaging with it. That could be a week, that could be a month. I'm studying the multi-orgasmic man for the first time in 20 years, Matt Chia's work. Yeah. And I have a practice around it. And it's really changed my relationship with my wife and to myself. And so
is this practice, would you suggest the practice starts first only with you, or you invite someone else into it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's the whole thing. What I'm talking about, confronting, investigating, committing, and building a practice, has nothing to do with anyone else.
Yes.
This is all a solo practice. I can tell actually I showed my wife, I'm like, hey, look, this new cool book. And she's like, great, honey. And she goes back to her, crazy books that she reads.
Yeah.
But like, it's a solo practice. I'm not looking to her to validate me on this new thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking inside the excitement of expansion.
Yeah.
Build a practice, do the practice for whatever time frame it is. It's always good to get an accountability buddy, the right to change your practice in the middle to optimize it. Yeah. Complete your practice, debrief it, celebrate, and then decide if you want another round. Mm-hmm. So if you have this practice of your desire, do your own internal work first. Uh-huh. So you don't come to your wife and go, I saw this movie and, the guy got penetrated with a dildo. Do you want to do that with me? Yeah. Which, odds are she might, it's possible. It's a crapshoot, but really, but if you do the work inside, will you come across like, I have a desire.
Mm-hmm.
Are you open to hearing it?
Mm-hmm.
Ask for consent.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. I saw this movie where this guy got penetrated,
Mm-hmm.
a woman on a strap-on. I got turned on by it. So I looked it up. I went to a sex shop. I looked, I read, and I'm really interested in trying it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you interested in participating with me in this?
Right.
And
I might add, as a woman, that what I would love to hear is, I'm really interested in trying it with you. Right? So that it does feel like personal versus like, if you're not interested in trying it with me, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And my monogamous mindset, I forget those little details. But I want to do this with you. I want to expand our sex life. I want to explore things with you. Would you be interested?
Yes.
And, I think your chances rise exponentially when you've done your own work rather than, I have this feeling, comes across.
Right. That's more of the vomiting or the kind of dumping, or like, there's something here that's uncomfortable for me or new for me. And I haven't yet gotten right with myself. So I'm going to try to get, like you said, I'm going to try to get that external validation of the rightness of this through you. But then I haven't actually created this, centeredness inside myself.
Which is really a boy looking to his mother.
Yes.
For approval.
Yeah.
Which goes back to Imago, the Harville Hendricks concept that we look externally. Harville Hendricks and Dr. Helen Kelly Hunt. She never really gets credited. It's always Harville Hendricks.
The women often don't get credited.
Yeah. When I did my research, I was just like, I totally didn't know about this person. Anyway, Dr. Helen Kelly Hunt was part of that great book and that great practice. But what we look for with our adult relationships are the childhood wounds we didn't get as children.
Yes.
So often we look to our female partners to prove us like mom, which is very unsexy.
It's very unsexy.
Very, very unsexy.
Yeah, I was just writing about that recently too, where I was saying like, fortunately or unfortunately, we call in relationships where we work out these things.
Right.
The unfortunate part is most of us haven't studied or been given the tools to actually work them out. So then it creates more trauma and pain. Mm-hmm. But if we actually know that that's what's happening, we can work through it. And another piece I love of what you're saying that I also believe in is, we're not telling men, here, go create this practice and all this because it's going to be good for getting the woman or good for her saying yes to you, right? That is something you want, but it also is good for you innately, right? No matter what happens on the outside, and you are more likely to have the result you want on the outside. It's not like, well, now I have to turn into something else and not be myself. For her, it's actually getting closer and closer to the, the true you.
Right. So back to the multi-orgasmic man, I have a solo practice for me.
Yes.
I'm doing this for me.
Yes.
I know, and I hope, I don't really know, but I know actually putting attention on it will improve my relationship.
Yeah.
And I hope it'll gratify my wife even more. But really, this comes down to, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my self-esteem. Self-esteem is built upon esteemable acts. The things we do inside our integrity has us feel better.
Yes.
We're addicted looking outward, but if you can build your own internal acts, your own self-esteem, man, no one can take that away from you. It's not dependent on anyone else. You've got it inside. And that's, the big piece. My whole practice for men really is around this one point. Self-esteem is built upon esteemable acts. And there's 1,000 things around that. But if you can just learn to love and have your own intestinal fortitude, your own strength, the whole world looks different.
It is. I mean, and that's the man who walks into a room and is respected already and trusted already. And, women are drawn to him already. It's like this, sixth sense, that we as women have, or we can't necessarily tell, oh, you've done your work, but there's a different energetic feeling.
Yeah.
And, it's exciting. And I'm thinking back to the seduction piece. And so I'm wondering if you can give us a sense of, all right, so a man is grounded in his own confidence, his own belief in himself, his own love for himself. And then, like you said, he's not just necessarily just standing there, he's going to still act. So can you talk a little bit about those actions, or is there anything you can say about that?
I have 6 steps. This is an article I wrote that I'm trying to get published. First step, self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
The second one's a little chargy. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Second is to get penetrated.
Get penetrated.
Get penetrated.
In which ways are you referring?
The way you're thinking about.
Okay. Like actually physically get penetrated.
Get penetrated.
Okay.
Okay. So this is, I write. I'm like, well, when I write, I'm like, oh God, I can't write this. This is too much. And then I'm like, you have to write this because you believe it. So, there's a saying in BDSM world, bondage, the dominant submissive
masochism. Yeah.
Right. That you cannot be a good top until you're a good bottom.
Yes. Right. Until you can actually experience what it's like to be dominated.
Right.
You can't really dominate well.
Right.
Yes.
So men are taught to penetrate. We have a physical attribute that enables us to penetrate, right? And we never really experience, very few men experience the concept of being penetrated.
Yep.
So like a bad top who's never, really received a bottom,
yes,
I recommend men to understand the sensation, the experience of what it means to be penetrated. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to be physically penetrated, which I totally respect, then think about it energetically.
Yes.
Go think about it emotionally. Think about what it's like for a woman to come to a bar. Mm-hmm. And so there's I can't remember his name. It's popped out of my head. But like there's this book I read, and I'll send it to you. Maybe you can put the show notes so I can give credit where credit's due. There's this passage in this book, and it talks about a woman comes into a bar, and she just wants a drink, or she's seeing a friend, and all of a sudden there's 8 big football players surrounding her, and flirting and talking and joshing and boys being boys, and the woman's like, I want the attention, but this is not the attention I want. Mm-hmm. And so what does she do? She runs, she leaves, she goes to another bar, or she sits in, she's being energetically penetrated.
Yeah.
So now if you're a guy, you can go this. You can imagine going to a gay bar.
Yep.
And if you're a straight guy, and all of a sudden you're surrounded by 6 or 7 gay gentlemen
who are interested in you,
or acting the same way with you.
Yep.
I've been to a few gay bars. They're actually very polite. But just imagine you go to a gay bar and you are out of control.
Yeah.
What is, learn that experience so you can understand how to treat a woman better.
Yes.
In terms of being physically penetrated, there's solo practices you can have just to experience. And there's very small instruments that will not hurt your body. We think about the big dildos, there's very small things. So my point is, and you can do it with a girlfriend or, you don't have to do it with another man. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, learn the experience of what it means to be penetrated physically.
I'm so appreciating you because I know, right? You're like, whoa, that's intense to say and intense to put out there. But again, whether it's physical or energetic, to actually feel what it feels like to be pursued and to be energetically penetrated in that way, it gives you a whole nother sense of what women can experience. And then, like you said, how you can better care for,
right,
and, kind of help a woman, guide a woman through.
Be a friend to a woman.
Yes.
To be an ally to a woman.
Yes.
To have the experience, to be like.
Women are longing for, and there's
dying for.
Yeah. And I was going to say, even again, this isn't the point, but there is something really sexy about, especially these days, men who can be allies and who can also have this kind of, strength and belief in themselves.
Right. Women friends are your greatest. If you want to meet the woman of your dreams, have women friends, and ask your women friends to tell you the truth. Yeah. Then reward them for telling you the truth. I didn't know how to dress when I started this whole thing. I had a woman friend who was willing to say no,
don't wear that.
She went to my shoe collection. She's like, buy. So grateful,
Okay. So you've got 6 steps. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them.
But I'll go quick. So third one we've talked about, masculine presence, the ability to stand up straight, the power of that. And here's the hardest part.
Okay.
Fall in love with yourself. Men to truly, truly fall in love with themselves.
Yeah.
Step 4 is just to believe I am a good man, regardless of the situation.
Yeah.
I am just a good man.
And I want to say in that one, again, as I've been writing my TED Talk, I'm thinking about, some men are like, well, women shouldn't help men because they're, women have been too much a part of men's lives. I just want to say, men and women both, whoever you go to for support these days, right? It's not a coddling, a mothering, an advice giving, whether it's a man or a woman or, men's workshop or whatever. It's like there's a way of making sure that that person or people are helping support you to find your own love for yourself, not just giving it to you from the outside. So I don't know, maybe that's like a little rant I have on my soapbox.
Take it.
But yeah, it just feels important to me that whoever you're guided by, right, is really helping you look internally.
And I got into huge trouble with a podcast called The Gender Knot. I got into this debate with this woman, Naz, who what she heard was me saying it's women's responsibility to help men.
Yeah.
And the word I kept using was opportunity.
Right.
It's a woman's opportunity.
It's not a woman's responsibility.
Nope.
And I feel really strongly that there is an opportunity for women to step up to support men, to, to mirror and reflect men's goodness. But again, it's not our responsibility.
Right. Yeah. I tell men to go to other men to get their egos cracked and their shells broken.
Yeah.
And I say, you want to really be a great man? Do finishing school with a woman.
Yeah.
Because men cannot teach other men the fine details of how to interact with a woman. We got to send them to the ladies.
Yeah. And it's a little scary to me sometimes because I think a lot of men are walking around in the world having done the work with men.
Yep.
But then they haven't, like you said, integrated or finished or how do I relate?
Yep. Okay.
Number
Step 5 is to attract.
Yes.
Once you're that beacon of light, be that. And again, it's not just standing there. There is agency, but instead of the pouncing, it's standing up straight mostly. So then attract.
Yeah.
Step 6 is to dance.
Say more.
So men really love formulas, strategies, and equations that we've cultivated from years. If you truly want to interact with a modern, powerful woman, you got to learn to dance. Because
what you mean by dance.
So,
instead of a mathematical or equation, it's like there's the movement back and forth and the flow and is that what you mean?
The 3 last times I went on a date and, she did this, I did this, and it was successful. Therefore, this new woman, I will do this again, and stick to the plan regardless of her facial gestures, the energetic gestures, or non-verbal communication. I'm just going to keep doing it because it's the strategy, it's in the program. Yes. That's not dancing.
No.
That's acting. Like great if you want to do a gym workout, not great for, romantic. So dance. If she leans in, lean in slightly.
Yeah.
Just like lean in slightly. There's the movie Hitch, with Will Smith and Kevin James, when he says, Will Smith is a dating coach. He says lean in 90% and let her come the last 10%. It's a classic. It's actually a great example of consent, but men lean in 90% and let her follow the last 10%. If she leans back, if she wants a little break, do it with grace. Do it with integrity.
Right.
Okay,
rather than a little break, or scarcity, or shit. If she leans out, then this is never going to happen.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. If she's sitting in front of you and just wants to rant and wants you to hear her, don't try to fix her. Just dance with it. Dance with the energy. And there's times where she's like, there's a mouse in the, like, da, 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 da. I'm going to go fix that and be a man. Cause it's dancing. It's knowing. It's like when you learn scales, when you play the piano, and then to become a great jazz musician, you use those scales, but you totally let go of the notes and the script and the music, and you just dance. Dancing is what women want. And sometimes that means being a strong, forceful, powerful man. Sometimes that means a vulnerable, crying.
Right. It's not just about what women want. It's actually, you also get to be part, you get to be on your journey as well.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing I was just thinking as you were talking is, I've often said to men, to try to get it right, or think that just because a woman liked something that the other woman liked, or even the same woman on a different day or a different hour, it's maddening. And then you're in this mode of, forcing or trying versus how can you relax and enjoy yourself and, pay attention and notice what's happening over there, and then how you can dance with it, as you're saying. I love that.
Yes. That's it.
Awesome.
6 steps.
6 steps to the new type of seduction.
I'm working on the title. I think, I was thinking this could be my TED Talk.
Yeah.
I've never done a TEDx talk, and I've always wanted to do one. I think this might be it. So
I like it. I mean, I really love how the new seduction is honoring of both people, right? It's like, I'm going to believe in and love myself. I'm going to honor that there's another woman person over there and not objectify her.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's a masterful way of deepening connection versus using these kind of shallow tricks or tools or games, which falls apart eventually anyway.
Right. That's the whole thing about the pickup artists. Even the guys who got the digits had no idea what to do.
Right.
Once you went on that first date.
Right.
Now what do I do?
Now what do I do? Because I don't know how to
actually human being. Yeah.
relate as a human being.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. This is always so fun to talk to you, and also not just fun, but really powerful. I appreciate your wisdom, and I appreciate your life experience and your willingness to use what you're still learning and working with to support other men. So
yes.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope it gives you a sense of what's possible and how good your life can be. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe to Man Alive and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to shanajamescoaching.com/manalive to get outtakes, videos, and raw footage I only share there. These are some of the most interesting parts of these expert conversations. You can also grab your copy of The Unknown Power to accelerate your career and solidify your confidence with women, because the two are related, and I know you don't have to settle for one or the other. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.